Okay, good evening, everybody. We're going to start with introducing ourselves. And so I'll start first. My name is Lily McGalliard.
I'm Shy Hires.
I'm Reese Barron.
Jocelyn Taylor.
And I'm Sienna Slater. So today we're using our GC2Y class, Sex and Resist, with a service learning collaboration with the Women's Center at GCSU. And our event is about acknowledging the struggles women and mothers face in the workforce and working towards a better future for women in their careers. So we're going to hear from a few panelists. Also, throughout this event, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, and we're going to come back to them later in the Q&A. And I'm going to hand it over to Reese, who's going to introduce our panelists.
Okay, so our panelists, we have Lena, who is a personal training manager. We have Trisha, who's a data analysis with a vegetable oil company. We have Dr. Phelps, who is a professor of computer science at Georgia College. And then we have Mrs. Kelly, who is a senior lecturer of biology at Georgia College.
Thank you for having us.
So we're going to get started with our questions. So first we have, how do you balance your work life and your personal life as a working mother? Let's start, Miss Lena, can you start for us?
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for having all of us. As far as balancing work life and personal life, it depends. It kind of varies as far as how old the child is. As a single mother, it's a little bit different. I have to, how should I put it? So it's a little bit difficult because, and especially for me, so my work schedule is not a typical 9 to 5. I have, because I'm a personal trainer and I work in a gym, I have to work around the peak times at the gym. So it's usually, first thing in the morning, and then I get a little roll during the lunch, and then of course later in the evening when everyone's getting off of work. So now that Aiden's in school, it helps a little bit, but at first it was a lot of, whenever I had a break in between clients, I was trying to spend time with Aiden. And then now that he's in school, it's a little bit easier, but in the afternoons, it definitely affects a lot of our time that we can spend together. So I try to make sure I don't work during the weekends as much as I can so that we can spend a lot of time together. And then as far as personal life, same thing, just whenever I can get a chance. It is hard when, you get caught up working all the time and trying to make sure that you're making, you're financially stable to take care of your family and, your child and all that. So as far as work-life balance, it's constantly something that I have to work towards. And I'm sure all the other mothers can attest to that as well.
And y'all are welcome to just jump in and piggyback, or if you're more comfortable, I can call out it too. So.
Well, I'll say, so hello, everyone. Trisha Taylor. So it was terrible at work, or balancing work and personal life and the girls. So I really, basically you devote most of any time you have from work is for the kids. And so anything else is just basically trying to catch up on your rest or get, sleep or whatever. But the rest of it, it's just like, you pretty much don't have, as a single mother, you don't have any kind of real social life until your children are grown and able to be left alone. High school time, same. But anyway, that was it. So it's really a struggle as a single mom. So you have to find babysitters, and otherwise you just have to sneak in a trip to the store or whatever here and there. But yeah, it's tough. So
for me, I am a foster mother. So and I'm an older foster mother, and I chose to have Kingston at a time. I've had him for a year now, and I chose to have him at a time where I can kind of balance my work life and my personal life. So to me, I feel blessed because when I go to work And then I have daycare there. I have my support group of the other foster mothers there. So if he's sick and I say, hey, I need help, and I just send him over there to the other foster mother right there. And during the COVID time, I was able to work from home. And so when we were quarantined, he was there, and some my students got a chance to see him waving in the background. So I've been truly blessed to being able to have daycare when I need it, and I don't have to pay for daycare. So I have daycare when I need it, and on my weekends I spend with him. We go to the museum. We plant a garden. We go outside, and so since I chose to have him, I'm a single mother, and he brings joy to my life. So it's not a chore for me. And so that's my personal, he's my personal life. Mhm.
I think there's definitely a distinction between personal life and home life,
Mhm.
because personal life might be just like watching a movie at 11 o'clock at night on Friday if you can stay awake. But I would say for me, I think the only way I can manage having both is if I'm at work, then I have to be 100% at work. And if I'm at home, I have to be 100% at home. Like, it's difficult for me to have this carryover from one to the other. So if I have papers to grade, then it's just going to have to be done at like 11 o'clock or midnight, because while the kids are up, there's got to be laundry, there's got to be supper cooked and dishes washed and all the regular things that you do for day to day. And then when you're at work, then you just have to put the pedal to the metal, and that's what you do. I don't necessarily take a lunch. I just sit at my desk, and I usually grade papers then during that time.
I think Mrs. Kelly makes a really, really good point. It is, you have to separate work and personal life. Okay, just like that. It's hard to, it's easy, especially when you get so focused on work. It is easy to bring work home, whether it's, answering a couple of emails here and there. I've learned if you start doing that, it'll continue to do that. So she made a really, really great point. You have to learn how to separate work and leave that at work, or just when a time when your child is asleep, or when there's a break, and then make sure your personal life and your home life are absolutely separate.
Okay, well, thank you for your responses. Our next question is open to anyone who would like to speak and answer the question. And it is, have you ever been discriminated against related to your status as a mother? And if so, could you explain how?
Oh, yes, that's a tough one. So what happened with me? I was in the military for about 10 years. And basically, they have what's called a family care plan. And so they consider that you have to report to your mission at any time because you have this family care plan, and which is basically people set up to take care of your child or your children at any time, at any point, so you can accomplish the mission. And so what would happen often is that if they got sick and you absolutely couldn't be there, or something happened, then it was really hard, and you could almost get in trouble for that, where you just had to deal with finding some place for your child, or else you could get in trouble. So it was so hard as a mother or single mother when you were going to a new duty station, you didn't have any support, and you were stuck. Basically, a lot of families, their wives didn't work, and so they had definitely people that could watch their children. If there was a problem, if there was a sickness, or if there was an issue, a call from school, whatever the case may be. But if you didn't have anybody and you couldn't leave, or it was frowned upon if you left, then it was definitely a struggle to handle just sometimes basic things, getting off for a sickness or a sick child. They don't want to let you go, you're busy, and yet you have to leave, and everybody gets resentful of that. There's a lot of people who get resentful that have never dealt with being a mother, especially a single mother, and they feel like they have to take a burden of the workload. And when you're taking off and they have to pick up slack, then there's a lot of kind of frustration and kind of just resentment that kind of can boil over. But, you know, that's, what do you do? I mean, you have, you know, it's what's first, your family or your work. So you definitely, there's just situations where it could be difficult.
I haven't had any discrimination, but I think one of the most shocking things is one time I had someone ask me, when I, so I guess my background is I have more of a traditional family, but I have 3 children. And with my last pregnancy, someone said, why don't you just get an abortion? And I thought, well, that was not expected because it was unplanned. But I would say though, probably the most barriers have not necessarily been put upon me by other people, but maybe more so from myself. I always knew I wanted to have a family, even from when I was young, and I wanted to have a large family. So there were things that I did not pursue because I knew I wanted that to be a part of my life. So I think before the audience came in, originally I was, I think on the headline is Dr. Kelly, and I said, I'm Mrs. Kelly. I don't have a PhD. And one of those reasons why is because in my master's thesis, I worked on endocrine disruptors on perinatal development. So I worked on hormones that would influence how a child is shaped. And so right after my master's degree, I married, and I thought, gosh, if I were to get pregnant, I'm literally doing research on things that could harm my child. And so I stopped, and I just never picked up because I thought, well, what else am I going to do? And so there's a lot of things like that that I think I put barriers on myself because I knew this was something that I wanted. And for the most part, I'm not sorry. My life has been good for that.
Does anyone else have some last comments on that before I jump into the next question? All right. If not, I'm going to move on to the next question. What has been your biggest struggle as a mother in the workforce? We kind of just touched on that, but how have you overcome this if it's already something that you've talked about?
Well, I mean, you overcome it by just being honest about it with, you know, everyone involved. I mean, there's been times where even I've had to be honest with the girls, you know, look, this is the situation, you know, we're going to have to go through this, or you're going to have to go to this lady's house because, you know, we have to, you know, you know, we have nowhere else to put you at this time. Like, it's literally just being honest. And especially with coworkers, there's always, you know, sometimes there's always those people that take advantage of situations. And so just being frank and open about what is happening and the struggles you have, and talking about it, I think you can often find more resources than if you just kind of suffered in silence. And most people want to be helpful or kind. I mean, granted, sometimes it just doesn't happen, but you just, you know, you can find resources that you weren't expecting. It's just, you know, the luck of the draw sometimes, but definitely, I mean, reaching out for support when you need it is crucial. And that was one of the mistakes I didn't, I just, like, we grinned and bared it, but I really could have probably gotten a lot more help if I just had reached out to other sources, you know, even counseling centers or family centers or something of that nature. So just think of all your options.
I'll piggyback on what Ms. Taylor was saying. One of my biggest struggles, and I still am learning to deal with this now, is being a single mother. You know, it's just you and your child. So it's just me and Aiden all the time. So when I'm done with work, immediately it's time for Aiden. So, you know, I don't ever get a break from going from, you know, working, you know, employee to being a mother. So, you know, I don't get to decompress. That's the word I was looking for. I don't get to decompress a lot of times. And as someone who has anxiety, I do need that sometimes. So, sometimes it just kind of gets built up, and you don't. I have lashed out on Aiden, just kind of like snapping at him, or just because he's like, mommy, 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 I need this, I need this, I need this. So I have done that before, and of course I immediately regret it. I do try to talk to him, and I always apologize if I do something like that, or if I snap at him, or just maybe ignore him for a second just because I need a second. But it is okay that does happen. It's okay to admit that. But like she said, I've learned that I have to sometimes reach out, whether it's maybe getting a babysitter or having someone watch him for maybe an hour after work, even though it's already starting to get late, just to kind of help him, or help me maybe let him go get dinner with someone, or have a babysitter come to the house, play with him for a little bit, give him bath time while I have some alone time, or try to get caught up on housework. But you do have to reach out to your resources, even though we all want to be super moms and want to know, we believe we can do everything, but sometimes we need help as well. So that's probably been one of my biggest struggles. And I'm constantly working on that as well. But you do have to reach out, and it is okay to ask for help.
Mom guilt is a very real phenomenon. It is very real, because if you put too much time with your kids, you feel like, oh, everybody at work's going to think I'm slacking and I'm not doing everybody well, and I like my job. And then if you put everything into your job, you're like, oh, my poor children are suffering. But I think it's important to remember that it does take a village to raise a child, that it's okay. And you can cut yourself a little slack every now and then.
Oh my God, that mom guilt will get you every time.
And for me, with the health issue, whenever they get sick, I'm up, and just, he's breathing heavy. I'm looking at him. I don't want you to die, not on my watch. I'm just standing up all night, just looking and just worried. And then when you have to go into work the next day, I feel guilty. If I feel guilty if I don't go into work, because I know, I'm fortunate that working at Georgia College, that I can just send an email to my chair. She'll be understanding. But I feel guilty. We were on quarantine for like 3 different times as daycare closed down. And I just felt I did not want to. I miss my students. I wanted my students to make sure they have to see me. They want to see them. They made me wish I stayed home, but I want to see them. And I felt guilty sending Kingston to the elderly foster mother whose sister died of COVID, but she was the one that well, his school is closed because of COVID. I don't know if he has it, but will you please keep him, watching him for me for 3 hours, and then I rush back, and then I get you, so it's, yes. Okay. All right. He wants to sit in my lap and watch TV, but that's it. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have anything else to add? Okay, so the next question is, what is something
You cut out. I'm sorry. Can you repeat? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. What is something you wish you could change about the conditions for mothers in the workforce?
I have a whole topic on this. I'm sorry. I have a little, I gotta get on my soapbox, and I gotta talk here. Sorry, guys. All right, let's discuss. So it is a dream of mine, if I win the lottery, like the big lottery, like the 500 million lottery, that I will go and open in cities across the world daycare, 24 hours, 7 days a week daycare for mothers that offer full range of services, like from having, quarantine, or like a quarantine sick area, overnight bedding areas, the best food, the best tutoring, activities that are stimulating and fun, and just a safe place for kids to go when their parents have shift work, when their parents are working 2 jobs, 12 hours a day plus, and they don't have time to do anything for the kids. And so, I mean, it's not their fault if they're working constantly to put food on the table. The children, you know, I mean, you have to eat. And so it's just like to give them what the mother or single father can't give them at that time, because they literally just don't have time, energy, money, resources, and they just suffer. And so I just, that would be, I think, even, I know the government, nobody wants them to get involved, but just something that could just be more supportive, some daycare centers that are more supportive of working mothers, more of a whole, like, holistic approach to daycare. And we have such a work ethic, and everybody wants to make money and no one wants to think about the kids. But if we really just make these villages for them, for especially single mothers with less resources, then, I think we'd be better off as a society. I mean, everybody's like, well, we got to have preschool because preschool is the only thing that gives them, basic, skills when they're young, and that, but that's so limited. So just those kind of resources, it's a dream. Maybe I'll win the lottery. I don't know, but if as a society we could invest more in helping, because if you don't have a family, or you don't have people to help you, or the people that you're around are just not very good, then what do you do? And so it's, I mean, I've heard so many stories of mothers leaving their kids in the car when they're sick because they have nowhere to put them, or, when they go into work, or just like horrible. And I feel bad. I mean, you can judge them, but some cases they just have nowhere to put them. And so I just really wish we would make a more of an effort to help family values. That's what it's helping these kids, raise, as a society. So anyway, that's my soapbox. So I'll get it.
I guess I'll say, I just came off of maternity leave from fall semester. I had my third baby in August. And I'll say, as a employee at University System of Georgia, I was very fortunate to be able to take the whole semester off. And that is a luxury very, very few women get. But I will say, for women to have such short, if any, parental leave after a baby is born is shocking. And as an anatomy person, let me tell you, those 6 weeks after a baby's born is called the puerperium. When I first experienced with my firstborn, I thought it was the strangest physiological phenomenon I have ever experienced. And I studied endocrinology and reproductive physiology. So I was shocked. And I went back and looked at it, and it was all written by men because they know how to live through it. So it takes you 9 months for your body to adapt, to build a new human being. It takes a while for your body to go back to the way it is. So not only are you adjusting to your new body, but you're also sleep deprived. You've got an infant that you're feeding with your body if you choose to breastfeed or nurse. And it's a lot. It's on your person. And so to be able just to snap back and go to work, or just to switch your baby to formula if you're not allowed to have access to things like pumping, that's hard on a new mother. So like I said, I was fortunate and blessed being a part of Georgia College, and that we have a lot of resources, but not every mother has that, and that is difficult.
I'll jump on that too. I actually had to go back to work after 4 weeks of having my child. And it was originally going to be 6 weeks, but I had a trainer leave, so I had to come back to work. Luckily, I had, I was in my body was in a very healthy position, so I did recover very well. But like Mrs. Kelly said, it does a number on your body. So it was a little traumatizing. I did the best I could, but like you said, you're sleep deprived. So my experience was, I went to work in between breaks. I was probably one of the first employees they ever had who had a child while employed with them. So, you know, we were all kind of figuring it out on, you know, together. So going back to work, I had my child with me, you know, Aiden had to go into, we have a daycare there, so he was in there. So I'm constantly worried about him. I'm going in there in between clients, changing diapers, feeding him. When I needed to, I'd go into like a separate office and pump, you know, and then I had to like figure all that stuff out, you know, where to store my, you know, breast milk. Do I have extra diapers? You know, I can't just run home and grab all this extra stuff if I forget. So, you know, I'm traveling with a luggage bag of, you know, essentials just in case he might need it or I might need it. And because, you know, a few weeks afterwards, you're still bleeding, you're still, you know, a lot of things are happening to you. So you have to have, you know, extra clothes, pads, everything with you. And then, of course, when I needed to, because I was breastfeeding, that actually takes a toll on your body as well. So I would get tremendously tired. So I'm having to constantly eat, trying to figure out where I can get food, make sure I have enough food throughout the day to sustain me breastfeeding as well as working. And then I'd get tired. So, you know, whether it's going into my car for 20 minutes or going to the trainer's office and, you know, asking everyone, hey, just give me like 20 minutes, going to sleep in between. So in a perfect world, I would have every business somehow have, you know, maybe a section or a room that caters to mothers and, you know, mothers of newborns, because, you know, maybe having like a pumping station where, you know, has all of that, a little refrigerator to store breast milk, maybe like somewhere where they can take a nap if they need to, because you can't help it. Your body just kind of starts shutting down on you. And there'd be days where I'd be standing there training and I'm falling asleep standing because I'm so exhausted. So, you know, having essentials like that, even if it's just like one room or, you know, one or two rooms, just, you know, helping new mothers with those essentials that you're going to have to deal with, especially if they have to come back early. But, you know, paid maternity leave for a longer period of time would be probably my number one.
Any other comments? Okay, if not, what are some of the best parts of being a mother in the workforce?
Well, I think that, I mean, I think where I am now, I feel better. Like I've been able to show my kids that I worked through all that stuff, and I went back to school and got my master's, and I was able to get, you know, a good job finally. And we just really worked it all and through hard work. And I was able to show them that you can, you know, work and make it. And that was important to me because I hope that they see that and that they want to work hard and make it too, Jocelyn. So anyway.
The best part for me about working and having a child is, once again, I choose to have Kingston or any of the children that come into my home. So they ask me, then I got to think about my situation, and I choose to. And the reason why it's such a blessing to me, it forces me to get away from work, and I have something else to think about and to concentrate on. So I can be I think I could be more productive at work because it forces me to concentrate, get my work done, and come back and have fun time and spend fun. I feel like, you know, I'm like the grandparent, you know, so I get to have fun with the children and all of that. So choosing to have choosing to foster has just been a blessing for me. Mhm.
So my situation is a little bit different. So because we have a daycare, you know, Aiden comes with me after school, or, you know, if I jump on, have a couple of clients on the weekend. So they have a whole daycare there. The fun thing about that is I absolutely love what I do. You know, I come across like hundreds of people a day. You know, I get to interact with all types of people. Aiden gets to see all of that. And so he'll come out into the gym, you know, and we'll walk around. Or if he's coming in, everyone's saying hey to him, he goes and says hey to everyone. So he gets a lot of interaction with the community because he gets to come to work with me. And then, you know, he gets to see, he likes to jump on the machines every now and then, and he watches people exercise. So, you know, he'll run around and pretend like he's doing a couple of exercises too. So he's already introduced to, you know, a healthier lifestyle because of my job that I'm in. So that it comes natural to him. So hopefully he'll continue to love it. I always say he's either going to love this or absolutely hate it, because that's all he's known throughout his life. So, but he does get to do that right now. So I'm very fortunate that he does love doing that and he has an interest in it. But definitely the community that he's built, just being in the gym and being around a lot of different people throughout the day, that's been a great part of, you know, being a working mom and having him be able to come to work with me sometimes.
So as a daughter of a working mom, I remember when I was first old enough to kind of understand what my mom did and be able to see her. And I remember thinking it was really cool that my mom, she worked in higher education, and she was a teacher. And people would come up to her forever at the grocery store and be like, "Hey, Miss Riggins," and talk to her. And I thought, wow, like people really respect her. And when I came along, like that was something that I wanted too, and that I knew that she had done it, and she had raised us well, and she had invested time with us and invested time in her job. And I thought, I want to do that too. I want to be able to have a job, and I want to be able to have a family. And you know, it's hard. It absolutely is hard, but I think it's really worthwhile because I have a career that I enjoy, and I get to talk about this completely other side of me that I really get excited about. And then I come home and I get to spend time with the greatest little kids. And they keep me laughing all the time. So there's a lot of joy in being a working mom. It's hard, but there's a lot of joy in it as well.
So y'all kind of touched on this a little bit, but the next question is, what do you hope your children learn by having a mother in the workforce? And what other benefits have they received as a result of you working?
Well, my son Ben is a science nerd. He really gets into it, which is perfect for me because I'm a science nerd. So I think it's cool that I buy him way too many books. And we read about germs, and we read about animals, and we read about all this stuff. And sometimes I've even taken him to the lab, and I've showed him how to use a real microscope and not just the toy ones. And he thinks that's awesome. And we go into the museum in the basement, and he sees the dinosaur fossils, and it's like, this is really cool. So you know, my 2-year-old, she just thinks it's cool that I'm a teacher, so she likes to play dolls. And then my baby, she don't care, as long as I provide the milk, she's fine. But yeah.
Well, see, for me, I've been fostering for over 20 years now. And I try to think that some of my children, they are used to parents who don't work, may not work. They may want to live off the system. And so I tell them, if you want to, I can just show you the way that I know how to get ahead. And you go to work, and it pays off in the end. But if you don't want to do that, then, you know, I'm not, you know, I can't mentor you. You may want to go back to your previous environment. But I think for me, I've had one now. I think she was my first one when I was 30 years old. She calls me, you know, she still calls me mother, and we talk to each other, and we talk about me saying, you want to be a lady of leisure and stay at home and live on the government, or you need to go in and do the work. You have to get up every morning. If I'm getting up to go to work, you cannot stay at home. You cannot stay, you know, you got to get up, you got to do something. I'm not going to leave the house and have you here at the house in the bed. You're going to do something. And so she still mentions that to me. She said, I'm not a lady of leisure. I'm getting ready to go to work. And now it's fun. I'm telling her, I'm about to be a lady of leisure. I'm getting ready to retire. Retire now.
Okay, well, our next question is purely for one option. I'm sure there's a lot of options that you guys can think of, but what is one piece of advice that you would give to another or a future mother in the workforce?
I tell everyone, do what you love. Find something that you do. I say be a teacher one. Be a teacher. We have the best hours. I mean, because we're off during the summertime. when you go to school, we're home when you come from school. And but my mother was also a teacher. I think someone else mentioned that their mother was a teacher, and my mother taught, and I never saw her grading any paper. She said she always was able to do her work at school. And so that's what she tries to tell me. When you come home, you have time for your family, but when you're at work, you do your best.
I would recommend planning as much as possible. If it's motherhood is in the cards for you, to plan, how you're going to handle all these situations. And, it's not always, roses. It's a lot of work. And so just have a plan for, how you're going to do daycare. And, if your family is nearby, do you need to move your family? I mean, all these things that granted, some people can't plan, it just happens, but if you can plan and make sure you have the resources for it, and because it is expensive, and there's just a lot of, it's better off if you have, a support system. And so having all that beforehand really just takes a lot more of the stress off than just struggle. So it's more of joy instead of struggle with little bits of joy. And I just really recommend planning as much as you can.
My advice would be to always never be afraid to ask for help. Even if you're in a situation where you're not around family, like Ms. Taylor said, even if you're in a situation where you're not around your family, or you might not have many close friends, find another mom. I promise you, other moms understand. They have probably been in that situation or know someone who is in that same situation. Do not be afraid to ask for help, or find the courage to ask for help. You'll always have some, there's a little fear there too, but and know that you can't do it all. You're not meant to. We're meant to have a village. It always takes a village to raise a family or a child. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Find another mother. That'd be the best advice I can give you. Just find another mother, even if it's just a confide in, or have a play date so your kids can play and you can have some adult time with another mother, or just all of the above. But do not be afraid to ask for help, whatever it is.
I guess mine would be that you only get one chance at childhood. There's so many things in life that you can have a do-over. If I decide I want to get a different degree, I can go back and get a different degree. If I need to buy a different house, I can buy a different house. Or if I need to get a different job, I could get a different job. But I only get one shot at being my children's mother, whether they're my young, because mine are 5 and 2 and 7 months. And so my advice is, I guess with the nature of my work and like grading papers and that sort of thing, there's always going to be papers to grade and there's always going to be things for me to work on. But right now I need to invest time in them while they're small and while they're young. And then I can go and I can grade my papers and I can do what I need to do. But to me, that is a big priority, because that's the only thing I can't get a do-over for.
All right, if there's no more comments on that, so it's kind of similar to what you're talking about, but what are the different challenges you faced while you were a new mother versus the challenges you faced when you became an older mother? Not older, but just had more time being a mother.
It's just so much easier now. So much easier now. I'm some people aren't good with little ones, but there's just a lot of joy in it. Like Dr. Phelps was saying, that but it sometimes when it just takes you a while to get there, where you can really be on the same, wavelength. And I'm just I prefer having them older. I'm not someone who's good with little ones, which is, I got 2 at the same time because I have twins. I have, I had a lot of little time action, but I really am grateful now. So at any rate, I'm pleased. Thank you.
Well, the first girls I got were 8 and 9, and that's the ones I was telling you about that called me. We talked about the Lady of Leisure. They had me underneath the dining room table. I remember calling my mom, and I'm whispering, and she says, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm underneath the table," because I was going crazy. I was going crazy with them. They were putting 409 in my mouthwash. They were destroying the bedroom, and I just had them asleep, and I was just so afraid of just waking them up because I was actually underneath the dining room table on the telephone, hiding in my own house, calling. Now I'm much better. I think I'm much better at that. Main idea, for 2 children, I had to have separate rooms. So that's what I learned. It's separate rooms. Don't have them in there together. They're plotting something. But and for me, I usually have to get one at a time. So I usually just have one foster child, and I can devote one-on-one time with them. But I do have godchildren, twins. I don't see how you do it. I don't see how you did that.
Lord, it was hard. Just when they're older, it's just great fun, but when they're little, it's just a lot. They just both cry at the same time. It's hard. I know. It's always.
So I guess summing up for me, as I'm older now, I think I'm more patient, and I just realize, and I'm just so grateful now to have someone, especially with the coronavirus and everybody was kind of quarantined, and just to have someone to take care of, and he just wakes up and smiles. And yesterday I took him to the park, and he just said, "Oh, a surprise!" He just ran up and gave me a hug. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And so I guess it's him. He's such a sweet little, just the joy. So I just feel, totally blessed to be able to have him in my life for this short period of time, however long it's going to be. I'm going to try to keep him safe.
For me, probably the hardest part when Aiden was younger was when he started walking, because it quickly goes from walking to running very quickly, and they'll get into everything. So that little time period was really hard, because anywhere we went, any kind of gatherings we went to, it wasn't, hey, he can go play with the other kids. It's you chasing them around everywhere. Out in one of my friend groups, I was one of the last ones to have a child. So all of my friends, their kids were older. They were able to play on their own. We go to the lake a lot. So of course I'm like right there beside Aiden the whole time, making sure that nothing happens. Cause if you're by water, you understand it only takes a split second. So the first, probably that after he turned 1, so that 1, 2, 3-year-old stage was really hard, because it was nonstop. I never ever got a break. Now that he's 5, he's very independent. Of course, I'm still watching over him, but I feel comfortable with him watching, playing with the other kids. As long as they're kind of like, within seeing eye distance, I'm okay. I can just look over every now and then. If he wants a snack, he can go get it himself for the most part. And he knows what's right or wrong. Still likes to test it, but they start to get that understanding. Now I'm more worried about when is he going to start getting into, social media, what's going to happen when he starts hitting puberty, what's going to happen when he starts, he's in pre-K right now, but what happens when he starts getting into like elementary school? What are the kids learning now? They have so much more access than we did when we were growing up. So that's probably my worry now. I know we still have a little while, but kids are learning things so quickly and so early. So I feel like we're going to have to start having those kind of difficult talks at an earlier age. So mentally trying to prepare for that is probably my biggest worry at the moment.
Yeah, mine were always running around in the store, and that was like terrifying. They would hide. They would hide under the clothes rack. Yes, Jocelyn, you. Oh my gosh, it was the worst feeling ever. Anyway.
I don't know, when I first got my the children at 8 and 9 years old, I was always afraid of like the talk. I don't want to give the talk. I don't want to give it. And within a week, they said, "But tell me about sex." I said, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. There's an egg." Where does the egg come from? I don't know. It's just egg. And then my sister, the pediatrician, she gave me a book about about everything. And I cut out all the pages that had anything to do with the boy. And I said, here is, this is all you need to have. So, and then when my niece turned 13 or 14, of course, my mother, they sent her to me. Now, my sister's a pediatrician and my other sister's in medicine, and they all know how I am. I don't know what to say. I don't want to talk. And so she came up to me. She said, tell me about a period. I said, that's English. You have a question mark. You have a period. She said, no, not that English. I'm talking about the body period. And so my sister had to come in and take over from there. But that's what I I don't know what to do with the boys. So
Well, when you figure it out, let me know, because that's what I.
I have so many children's anatomy books. I'm gonna take baby steps to that.
well, right now Kingston is supposed to, he's potty trained, but I thought all the boys were supposed to, hold their penis standing up. And so I'm trying to teach him. He says, no, you hold it. You hold it. So I just had to ask other mothers. I said, what do you teach them? What do you do? So they said, leave it to daycare. I said, okay.
I think probably as a new mother with a 7-month-old, I think it's hard with a new one because she physically relies on me. Like I have to feed her with my body, and my other children, want to touch and hug, and sometimes you just get touched out. But I agree 100% with Lena. I mean, my oldest is 5, but it horrifies me the things that he's going to come into contact with that I don't know how to talk to him about. I have no idea how to address pornography or things like that. Like I'm baffled. So that really scares me, just the things that are going to come up and that I'm going to need to be prepared to talk about. It's part of our world.
I just say, can we talk about it later? Just put it off. Put it off. We'll talk about it tomorrow or never.
Okay, well, we're gonna open it up to the audience for a Q&A. So, and if you're not comfortable with talking over the mic, you can just drop a question down below.
There's one in the chat.
How did I decide to become a foster parent? Well, I grew up around foster kids. My aunt on my mother's side, she had foster kids, and my aunt on my father's side had foster kids. So I grew up with a lot of kids, around in our church, and I was their tutor. I would go in and babysit them and tutor them, and I always knew I wanted to adopt. So my thing was I wanted to adopt. So I was going to adopt, and then it ended up I said, let me just do foster. So adoption ended up not working for me for the first time. So those 2 girls I originally had that kept me underneath the dining room table, I had planned on adopting them. And when I was underneath the dining room table, and it just, I said, somebody else knows something more than and can do better with them than I could. So, but then I changed to adoption. I changed to just foster care. And but I enjoy it. It's just like something that's, as a little girl, I always grew up believing that I wanted to adopt. I wanted to have like a lot of little different kids, a lot of kids and take care of them. And right now I know I can just do one at a time. I just do one and focus on that one. And then when they leave, most times I have to recuperate for a couple of years. Let me just, because I put my heart into it. And so when they leave, you get sad. And, sometimes, sometimes it's hard. Like right now, I've had Kingston here for over a year, and he's such a joy. He's such a joy. And I just take one day at a time. So I don't try to think about him leaving or anything like that. I just focus on making each day count.
There's also another question. It is, have you ever considered quitting your job to be with your kids?
Phoebe, is that Phoebe? Phoebe too. There's the other twin. Phoebe, I would have loved to. It would have been really great. We would have had, but you know, food and all that. So.
Well, I am retiring. So this will be my last year. And I am, so I've been here 28 years at Georgia College. And so now I am going to retire, and I'll have plenty of time for little Kingston.
I think the desire and the actually deciding to quit is two different things, because there's always times you're like, oh, I wish I could be with my kids. But I think the reality is we work, and for the most part, it's part of life. It's okay.
In the beginning, I wish I would have been able to work a little bit less, but to me, working is an outlet for me as well. I enjoy my job. I love it. And with my job, I get to interact with so many people a day. So that helps my extrovert side of me, you know, get that. I'm fulfilled in that way. But in the beginning, yes, I wish I would have had a little more time to, you know, be at home with Aiden. Definitely not go back to work so soon. But now I feel like we're finding a really good balance. I'm sure it's going to be another story when Aiden starts, you know, having more activities, having more school activities, if he decides to play sports or anything like that. But with my schedule now, I've worked it out to where I have a very flexible schedule, and I kind of make my own schedule. So I definitely want to keep working. Yeah. Yeah.
So can I ask a question for the audience? So what are the people that are joined? What are they joining? I mean, is this for a class, or is this an invite
I can answer
event?
that, Mom.
Huh?
I can answer it.
Okay.
Well, some of it is part of the class, like we're going to events so I can write event write-ups, and some of them is for like honors points, and like some of them are my friends on this that I asked.
And your sister?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
just gonna say, so what do the, I mean, when they're listening to this, I mean, are they interested in just women issues, or what are they interested in? Is this for this class is gender and society, or?
So we have a couple more answers in the chat for you. So
Okay.
Abigail said, a mix of this being for my GC2Y and a genuine interest in how mothers balance work and life. And then Anna said, I work at the Women's Center and was really interested by the topic. And then Amy just said, I'm just here to hear from strong women how to balance being a mother with a job, because I want to be a mother, but I also want to work.
Okay, excellent, okay.
All right. So the closing question is, what do you hope the people in the audience take away about mothers in the workforce?
Do it.
I think you should go out and make a difference in society to support women and working mothers, and to make it a better place for them. When you grow up and become, you know, legislators or lawyers or making decision or business owners, and you have women who work for you that are mothers, you know, you can make choices to help support them, and just make a conscious effort to just try to make, you know, for as much of a difference you can for women in general, and motherhood is obviously a huge part of that.
my advice would be, or what I hope everyone takes away, is that it's going to be hard, and just like everything else in life, but being a mom is the hardest thing in the world, and it's also one of the best things in the world. No matter what happens, just know, and no matter how bad it gets, just know that as a woman, we can do anything. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's absolutely true. If motherhood taught me anything, it's that I can do anything and I'm strong enough to get through anything. I was married when I had Aiden. My husband, just to kind of give you what I went through, my husband got on drugs. I had to divorce him. I became a single mother. Like, my world fell apart. But everything I did, I always kept Aiden in mind and knew that I was going to make sure that he had a great life and he was going to have a stable parent, and I'm going to do everything I can to provide for him. So just always remember that you are strong and you will always, always, always get through it.
And my personal mantra is don't count the days, make the days count. So do your best each day, and then just try to release it. If it didn't go well, just release and try again. Try to do better the next day.
So we have thank you from Abigail in the chat. She says, thank you all so much for sharing your personal stories and feelings on this topic. It was very eye-opening and empowering to hear from all of you about balancing and finding the best of both worlds. Thank you so much again. And from the bottom of all of our hearts, we want to thank each of our panelists, Ms. Kelly, Trish, Dr. Phelps, and Lena, for joining us today and sharing their insights and giving us their advice about how to support women in the workforce and what to do if you do become a woman in the workforce. We also want to thank Jennifer and Melissa at the Women's Center and all the help that they had, or all help that they gave us for making this event happen and giving us encouragement along the way, as well as Dr. S. She was our cheerleader all throughout and helped us make sure we had all the resources we needed to communicate with anyone that we wanted to communicate with. And thank you again to everyone, and thank you to those of you that attended. We're so glad that you all enjoyed this event, and we hope that you will join us for our other events for our class. Dr. S sent in the chat that the hashtag GCMeToo, a discussion about sexual assault on campus, is on Tuesday, April 5th, 4 to 5, and Arts and Sciences 270. So we would love to see you there as well. And then we have a bunch of thank yous in the chats. And Dr. Jennifer Graham, which is, she works with the Women's Center. She said, as another working mom, I so appreciate all of you sharing your stories. Many thanks to you all. And a bunch of other thank yous. So thank you again. And we hope that you all have a good evening and that you all enjoyed our discussion.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.